Hello again, most beautiful souls. Thank you so much for this moment of connection. We are so grateful. We hope that you feel as much joy as we feel when we reach out and are able to be in your field as you attend to this. Thank you. Today, we wish to talk to you about trusting your next step. Trust really is at the root of knowing that your ascension is on track and that you have everything it takes. So, we're going to talk to you about some examples that showed up in the channel's life in this past week about moments when he could be in trust or when he could choose doubt. So, not that long ago, several months by his time, Peter received the awareness that what he's doing in service is going to take off in a really big, big way. Now, he did not know what that meant. He just knew he needed to prepare for this. So he did his part, which really wasn't a lot. He contacted several social media influencers, people who have blogs with channels and videos with channels, and said, "Hi, here I am." And then he talked to his wife to try to see about if she would join him in providing clearing channelings, because she's very good at helping people clear, because he knew he was going to have a big backlog. So that was all he did. But he wasn't sure what any of this meant, what it was going to look like. So he just plowed along, knowing that he'd done his part and it would be revealed to him. So he finds himself eating brunch with a friend of his. And he's explaining how he's going to get big and he doesn't know what that means. And because he's going to be so busy, his friend says, "Well, you're probably going to have to stop doing the one-on-one sessions." And Peter's response was quite interesting. He said, "No, I'm not sure. I'm not going to limit what I can or can't do until I'm shown what's next. I'm not going to put myself in a box and say, oh, this can't come to me." His friend was adamant, "Well, if you're busy, you just can't do one-on-one." And Peter would have none of it. So the very next day, he's driving along with a friend, and his friend starts telling him how he is going to close his chiropractic office and go online and offer people functional medicine. And he's been taking a course from a man who realized that he was overwhelmed in his office. And rather than just provide functional medicine to patients, he was going to set up a whole system to train people to provide functional medicine. And Peter's friend laid out in detail what this involved. And Peter was just stunned. Oh, this is my next step. He had certain knowing when it showed up. Oh, yeah, this is what I've been waiting for. It wasn't an excitement. It wasn't like, oh, this will be fun. It wasn't like anything like that. It was just knowledge. Yes, this is what the information you've been waiting for. This is how you will proceed. And he wasn't overwhelmed by how daunting a task it was. He's an excellent trainer. He's written curriculum. He knows how to do all this. He is going to have to face his challenges of actually writing a book. He's had blockages and beliefs around that, but we're excited that he's going to clear as he writes the book that's going to be the basis of this next step. So he was very, very happy that this all unfolded to him. And he could see how it would serve him both financially and in service, because he knows that many, many people are ready to embrace ascension. He can get booked out months in advance after a single interview with only a few thousand views of people saying, "Hey, I need a little help and assistance here." And what was interesting to him, about 1 out of 10 of those people said, "I want to do what you're doing. I know I'm being called to service and I'm not sure what that is yet." So he knows if he can provide a system and a set of instructions Now, not everybody's going to do exactly what he's doing. That's not the point. The point is facilitating them to do what they do best by opening up a method, a technique that they can replicate and then start to spread out into their own beautiful gifts. Because this is what it's about. You see, we've been saying for a while, and the channel has understood this, and we'd like to understand you to understand it. This is the second wave of channelers. That's you and I. You listening to this, the channel Peter speaking it. You're the second wave. You wouldn't be listening to this if you weren't ready. The first wave of channelers, they were on the planet to show what was possible. They developed mass audiences in the traditional media senses. And as they moved into social media, it's become more and more acceptable, and people are aware of this. But now the energy is changing on the planet, and many of us are popping or are ready to pop. And those that are popping are confused. Well, okay, I know this channeling stuff is possible. I know I can connect with spirit, but I don't have any practical guidance. And Peter understood that his role in all of this was to help, lend a helping hand. To say, hey, I've just crossed this river. It's not that big a river here. Let me put my hand out and help you come across. I can help you with some clear information and some easy steps to take to start you on your journey. And now that we move from the thousands to the hundreds of thousands and millions of people who will be popping over the next few years, and eventually over the next decade or so, the billions and billions of people who are popping into their ascension. They're going to need a lot of people reaching out. So he's been guided into creating this network because he trusted that something big was going to come. He did what steps he knew how to do, but didn't put himself in a box of what it would look like. And then it showed up for him. And now he's like, oh yeah, that's what I was waiting for. That's the correct one. That's the ride I'm going to get on. Now, while this was happening, a couple of other very interesting things happened to him this past week around trust. He was getting ready, Peter was getting ready to offer another class. He calls it Becoming Awesome because he likes it. It gives him a sense of, wow, I can do cool things. I can help people become awesome. So his ego's very happy. So he was offering another class, and he wanted to get some promotional materials ready before a deadline with another interview on another blog of people who speak with channelers. So he taught this class for the first time a few months ago, had about 10 people in it. So he sent an email to the 10 people, said, hey, I'm kind of pressed for time here. I could really use a testimonial. If you got something for me, please send it. So he almost immediately gets back a scathing email from someone who was in the class. And it was quite funny because this person didn't even pay to be in the class. They just begged to, on his good graces to let him to take the class. And so of course he did. That's his nature. And that person, I didn't get anything you promised, and this is bad, and that's bad, and la la la, and I gave you $125 donation, which is less than half the price of the class, and I want that back, and I'm going to call a lawyer, and and I don't know anybody else in the class who got anything from it, and never talk to me again except through my lawyer. So when Peter received this, he was aware of, one, he's not his body, because his body was frightened. Oh, he was being threatened, so he could feel that. Two, he was aware he's not his thoughts, because he has deep-seated things that are still blocked about times when he did not do things what he thought was correct, or when he was punished in this life or other lives. So he had the mental set show up. Oh, I did bad. I'm a bad person. I can't do this. Okay. And he said, no, I'm not my thoughts. I'm my consciousness. So he had watched himself have these thoughts and have these feelings and watch his body react the way bodies do when they're in points of stress. But because he wasn't those things, he was his consciousness. He could also see what was going on with this person. And he had helped this person clear some negative entities in their field. And this person had huge, huge skills to begin with, huge skills. And it was funny when he did his life review clearing with this person, Peter did it. The person came back to him and said, how is it that your higher self stays with me when I was clearing? I could feel you, even though the call with you ended a couple hours ago. I would go deal with an emotion, and there was your higher self right there with me, helping me do it. How do you do that? And at the time, Peter replied, I don't know. We know, of course, but that's a whole nother topic there. But you understand there's no limits to time and space. And once the connection is there, the connection is there. And because the connection was built with the intent of let me help you, then he received help. Anyway, this person had a reversal of fear and blame. And Peter felt pity, not in the sense of, oh, what a poor guy, because yes, he was a poor guy, but in the sense of, damn, I've had those fears. I've been that way in my past. Angry, threatening, lawsuits, feeling like I don't have money, like I need it back, like I've been cheated or robbed. And because he has had those and has done his work to process and clear those, he could see the humany-womaniness of this person doing the same thing as their step to growth. So he immediately sent the guy the $125 back because he didn't want that money in his pool. He didn't want tainted hate money in his reserves. Not because the guy deserved it or anything, but just, ooh, let's get rid of this. But who knows? Maybe he's happy he got his money back. But what's interesting to note here is in the class, Peter was talking with people about flipping timelines, moving into the timeline of abundance, moving into the timeline of graciousness. And this person actually flipped the timeline. He got the skill he was complaining he didn't get. He didn't know that he chose to flip a timeline into negativity because he was letting his thoughts control him. So there's this whole fear thing. Of course, he was under the influence of negative entities previously, and he was taught that you must claim sovereignty. No, I am sovereign. Nothing can come into my field without my permission. You should be saying that till you totally know it. I am sovereign. Nothing can come into my field without my permission. Only beings in service to love and light can speak to me. Only beings with my best interest at heart can even knock on my door to ask to speak with me. That's the law. You lay it down. Nothing can come to you without your consent. You have to do that. He does not want to claim his sovereignty yet. He wants to stick in the victimhood nest. Oh, poor, give me my money back. This didn't work. You didn't do what you promised. He's sticking in there, so he's bringing the door for influence to come to him. See, you're right. The literal devil on your shoulder, like cartoons used to show, it's not that far from the truth. So what was particularly interesting was not only did this happen, but the next evening, Peter was sleeping and he could in that half awake state and he could feel his higher self speaking to this person because they're still connected, of course. And he just sent him compassion. He told his wife about this and his friend about this the next morning. And they're like, well, how come you didn't just break the connection with him? And Peter said, to his surprise, but not to ours, he said, no, I'm worked really hard to become in oneness with everybody. And this guy's just showing me an aspect of myself that I've done. So I'm going to hold him in the field of love. Even though my body's like, oh, this is icky. So this all happens. The very next day, he gets 4 testimonials, 2 beautiful videos, 2 beautiful emails about the transformation people took in the class. Now, there were only 10 people in the class, and one of them was his sister, who also has been in contact with him about changes in her life. So it's 5 people. He has documented proof that massive changes happened from this class, and one, the reversal. So it was quite fun, quite fun for him to see, oh yeah, I had all the doubts and fears about what I was doing, but no, it's quite beautiful. People are doing this. And it's my lesson of my reflection of my shadow that this person is still out there doing what he's doing. You see, it's a matter of trust. Peter had to trust that what he was doing was correct, even though the initial feedback was, no, this is horrible stuff, because it reflects to him what he's still holding. He used to think of this as a test. Oh, I wanted to make a change, so God's testing me, the universe is testing me. There are no tests, there's none of that. You're beautiful the way you are. You don't have to prove anything. What it is the delay between the consciousness and the manifestation. You see, if manifestation was just instant, then, and you had not cleared yet all your blockages, you would manifest hell. Most people do that now anyway, because they've spent a whole lifetime becoming masters of misery, so they manifest their personal hell. So as we move into these higher energies, manifestation gets quicker, but it's not instant because we haven't done our full clearing yet. So he had to trust that it was coming and that the things were right, even in the face of, wow, this doesn't feel right. And it triggers all my old memories of my own failures. That's how it works. Another example of trust came up when he was doing a session, a one-on-one session with a client this week. And then the person asked him, should I take this job? Now, he's had a question like that hundreds of times. Should I get in this relationship? Should I move here? Should I do this job? And we and the higher self of the person he's always been with has continually told him, we're not going to answer that question, because if we tell you what to do, you'll do it. And you'll still be in a child relationship of, daddy, can I do this? Mommy, can I do that? This is about your growth and your ascension. What do you want to do? So the person asks, did I take this job? And Peter's like getting ready to say his usual thing, because that's what it always is, right? And all of a sudden pops strongly in his head, yes, take it. And he's stunned. He'd never received that before. So he before he gave the answer to the person, he checks in. Why are you saying take this? And the spirit of the person that he was connecting with, their higher self, because that's who he does. He speaks higher self to higher self when he does channeling sessions, lets him know that this person had had problems in the past standing up for themselves, owning their power, of saying, hey, look at me, everybody. I'm good at what I do, and I can do this, and I should be acknowledged and recognized for it. And not just externally, but internally, not giving themselves the credit for that. So they were always walking around with this I can't attitude, I'm not good enough attitude. So now he's even more reluctant. Peter's even more reluctant to tell this person who he just met 10 minutes ago on the call, oh, by the way, you've got these really negative traits that don't help you. And I'm just going to poke you right there and tell you all about this stuff that you don't want to hear. But he was urged to speak this because this is what the person was showing up for the session for, to get some more clarity on areas that they were not yet able to connect to directly. So he says, look, I'm just going to tell you. And he tells this person. Sure enough, the person says, yeah, that's exactly me. That's how I am. You're right. Okay. So he got immediate confirmation that the message he was receiving is the correct message to give, even though he had to speak about traits of the person that he did not want to call to her. And even though the answer to be given was the exact opposite of the answer that was given 100 times before, which he thought was a law. There are no laws. It's propensity, but there's no laws. Whatever you choose is correct for you, even if it's the wrong choice and a mistake, because there are no wrong choices and mistakes. As you learn, you grow, you complete the experience, the universe expands. It's just that simple. So he got the confirmation to trust the message, even when he had his own doubts about, oh my God, because he still to this day, when he does sessions with people, he's at the point where he gets energy squirts and has to interpret them. When he does these channels, he can just step aside and we can step through. But since we're a fractal of him, it's quite easy. But when he's talking to the sacred higher self of another person, it's not like he can get the message directly. It's yet he's at the point where he gets an energy squirt and he has to interpret it. So he still has much doubt about what he's interpreting. And yet he's aware, oh, I'm doubting this in my mind. Thank you, mind. But I am a soul and I am a consciousness and I'm choosing to trust and believe. So he can then provide the message and continually get the feedback. Yeah, this is good stuff. And even when the feedback, as we said in the earlier story, is, hey, you ripped me off, you're a scam and everything, right? He knows, there's something else going on here. And there was a better connection for him as a human. Whether or not the other person benefits from this experience, he benefited from understanding this person's propensity to suffer. Was exactly what the kind of suffering he had done in the past. And so now he has proof, if he chooses to accept it, that he is clear of holding that. And he doesn't have to have the financial burden struggle, which he was going through kind of at the time anyway. You see how it all works when you allow. And that allowing means trusting your next step, even when you don't know what it is, even when the feedback is, oh, this is not right. I think in the popular Bible, it talks about going into the lion's den. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. Those kind of parables. Being instructed when you have the fear to continue on. And these are beautiful instructions. I'm here to say trust. The more you open, the more you're going to receive information. The more you trust that information, then the more you're going to receive it. And your life will be guided automatically without seeming like it's guided, because you'll be in flow from source. You'll be self-guided, automatically doing what is called for by source in that beautiful moment of expression of who you are and what you're doing. So thank you. Thank you for spending this time with us. Thank you for trusting yourself. Thank you for being the next wave of channelers who are going to help millions come to their ascension just by being who you are, just by learning your lessons. And whether you choose to actively participate and reach your hand out and help pull people across, or just simply generate a field of the bubble of heaven that you are, you're helping everybody. Many, many blessings to you. Hello, I'm Peter D. Thank you so much for viewing this message. I'm humbled by everything that's happened since I've been working to share ascension and awakening with people. And I'd like to invite you to come on that train too. The simplest thing you can do is please like and subscribe this video. That will help the YouTube algorithm put this video in front of more people so the message will get out there. And of course, you just carrying the beautiful energy that you are is the most amazing thing you can do for uplifting the planet. So thank you for being that. Thank you for sharing your beautiful time with me on this video. And if you feel motivated, I'm grateful to accept any donation you choose to give. Please see below for links. It'll help. Stay blessed.